It's inexcusable that they're about to miss the playoffs because I think the season's over. And I think even last night, I don't think he played that bad. I think that the receivers,
he wasn't good.
You look at
only Mahomes can throw 3 INTs, have less than 40% completion.
2 of them weren't his fault.
The Kelsey one was
Not his
fringe
fault.
his fault.
Absolutely not.
Fringe.
Kind
of threw it behind him, and you throw it in 3 defenders.
He threw it right here. You got to catch
He's
that.
like this, trying to have to like turn for it.
Hey, listen. Your receivers got to make plays. They get paid millions of dollars.
The only one that I'll give him the pass for was not an INT. Rashid dropped that ball on 4th.
Oh, yeah.
That was a drop. That was a drop.
I think that this year
was on the back of his head.
Chiefs,
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, he was scared.
That was one of the biggest hits I've seen in some time, bro.
I'm here watching.
Fucking lit up.
I'm watching a game with my dad, and I'm getting hype. I'm like, and you guys know I love Rashid Rice. I love Rashid, bro. That is one of the most perfect hard hits I've seen. That is like 2000s hard hitting.
Yeah.
Football.
It was a bad matchup from the start. An elite defense against an offensive line that had backups
and then their left tackle goes down the first damn play.
And I will say their third string emergency left tackle actually played really well. In place of Wanya Morris.
Undrafted.
He played well.
He was on the Jets practice squad.
So he was. Too bad he let him go.
Darren Muji has an eye.
But you do have some good left tackle. You have good left tackle right now. But I think the Chiefs season ending like this is embarrassing.
There you go.
Need that.
A season of Mahomes' prime wasted in what feels like a wide open AFC. Now,
Not
Kevin Durant, legendary player, he said that Mahomes cannot make the playoffs again, and I would never look at him differently. And I could understand where he's coming from.
But KD's the same one who doesn't look at his decision differently.
Because
right message, wrong messenger, I guess.
Patrick Mahomes is still, right now, the resume is one of the best quarterbacks, Mount Rushmore quarterback. That's what it is right now. And I think that one season where he doesn't make the playoffs doesn't define him. It's definitely a rarity. But we have to remember that, Brady went 10 years without Super Bowl. Other quarterbacks have missed the playoffs in their prime as well. I think that if you look back to 2022, if going into that year, after they traded Tyreek Hill, somebody told you the Chiefs were going to win 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls, you would think that they were lying.
Can I tell him to be quiet?
I don't know where he's going with this.
Can I tell him to be quiet? I don't care about what he did.
But you had them miss some playoffs that year.
I don't know where he's going.
And I also had them not winning the division this year. So when we talk about this year, we talk about their failures. We talk about their inability.
He is about to start glazing them.
We talk about their inability to stop a nosebleed. We talk about their inability to run the football. We talk about their inability to be clutch. That's what we should be talking about. We shouldn't be talking about what happened 3 years ago. That's relevant. It's not relevant.
It's relevant because
is it relevant?
No,
I don't think so. I don't know where he's trying to get at.
It's relevant because
I want to see where he's going.
The Chiefs rosters have been underwhelming for 3 years now. Because they won, you view them as not underwhelming. But I was there the entirety of 2022 where Mahomes, the Chiefs defense has only really been top 10 1 year, solidified top 10, really at most 2. The defense has always been up and down, inconsistent. Playoff time, they kind of turn it up, but it's always been inconsistent. The run game you're speaking of, it's never been there. They've never had a run game. Mahomes has never had a 1,000-yard rusher in his career.
Damian Williams was elite in 2019. His
career high is 498 yards in the season.
But he was elite in the play.
They had a running back worth
they weren't
1,000 yards
ever able to consistently run the ball.
And then unfortunate things transpired.
I remember 2023 when they started out, was it 7-5? And then they rattled off a couple straight wins and it got into the playoffs and it got hot. The offense looked lifeless for 12 weeks and nobody thought they were going to win. This Chiefs roster last year, 2024, when they lost, they made it that far. Nobody thought they were going to make it that far because they were underwhelming for most of the year. These problems have been brewing up for 3 years now. Because the Chiefs have won, it has masked the problem.
100%.
That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to be Mahomes, please.
Those seasons we look back on as successes because they won, of course, but it was still underwhelming rosters. They weren't stacked with the most talent. At the end of the day, the Chiefs' pillars of their dynasty has been Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, Reed, Steve Spagnuolo. Those have been the top 5 most important players in it. Kelsey is older and not the same. Chris Jones is turning 32. Andy Reid's clock management decisions this year has been woeful. Against Dallas, midfield, you don't go for it on 4th down. But against the Texans on your own side of the field, you go for it multiple times against an elite unit, and then they fail to convert, and you allow a struggling offense in what was Houston in the second half to get 2 straight scoring drives when they had perfect position to score. The Chiefs are going to have an overhaul, and I think that this season, because of their failure, and last year they went 15-2, and I actually think their team this year is better. But last year they were very lucky in 1-score victories. You can point to a multitude of moments where that luck played a factor. But they were very underwhelming last year, and the defense wasn't good last year either. And the same problems that they had last year, they're having this year. But now that they're not making the playoffs, it's going to force the ownership and front office to actually evaluate the problems, because it's one thing to make the playoffs and kind of just shrug it off. Missing the playoffs entirely forces you to look at everybody. Look at the GM's decisions that got you here. Look at the coaching's decisions that got you here to this point. Because when you miss the playoffs in a player as great as Patrick Mahomes' prime, everything is on the table. And I asked myself, in Mahomes' tenure, over the last 4 seasons, what has Andy Reid, what has Brett Veach, what have they done to take the load off of Patrick Mahomes? He has accounted for 76% of his team's offensive yards. That is the most of any quarterback in the NFL. What have they done to take the load off of this quarterback? They haven't brought in a running back. They're not rushing the football. Everything is on the back of Mahomes, and Andy Reid is an awesome coach. We forget about his perception before Mahomes got the success.
So now we're about to shit on Andy Reid.
And I think the most telling stat is a 3rd down conversion ranking.
Okay.
Before Mahomes and KC, they ranked 19th on average on 3rd down. With Mahomes and KC, before this season, they ranked 2nd. This season, because they've lowered on 3rd down, they now rank 4th in the Mahomes era.
Right.
Mahomes has been the best 3rd down quarterback in the NFL. And a lot of the times it's him bailing out what's happening. I think at one point in time, Andy Reid was one of the most innovative designers.
But he doesn't call plays.
Mahomes.
No.
Reid does call plays.
I thought it was Matt Nagy.
Does. Nagy definitely calls some plays. I don't know what the...
Matt Nagy, sometimes when you have an offensive head coach and an offensive coordinator, the coordinator helps with the game plan. But so doesn't necessarily call plays.
What is Jim Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh is just a...
Nagy calls some plays, though.
Yeah, like I'm sure he does, but Andy Reid's calling the plays for the most part. Like,
Are you sure?
Like yesterday, 20%. You saw Nagy on the sideline with the play sheet talking, like into the mic, which I'm assuming is connected to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Reid has a play sheet too. They all do. Yeah. He definitely has an input. He's been, I think, not having Eric Bieniemy there.
You're right.
For the last 2 years, really, last 3 years, I would say, last 3 seasons. Eric Bieniemy was a coach that people didn't get along with all the time, but his accountability was needed with the team. And now Matt Nagy is more of a yes man to Andy Reid. And I feel like Andy Reid, the modern NFL defenses, it's a lot of crossers, things horizontal. I think the biggest issue with him is the game management decisions. And I think Mahomes has bailed them out in a lot of moments. I think when you miss the playoffs, you have to think about this. Like, Reid without Mahomes and KC, they blew a 31-10 halftime lead to the Colts, 21-3 halftime lead to the Titans.
Reid without Mahomes and also KC won a playoff game.
1-4.
To send them to the AFC Championship.
They were 1-4 in the playoffs.
But that year they won the
Alex Smith,
yeah. The year they won the Super Bowl.
Listen, I think I hear what you're saying.
I think everything is on the table when you're evaluating the Chiefs.
I don't think Andy Reid's on the table.
I think Andy Reid has bought himself
unless he wants to retire,
leeway.
But
yes,
he's not in jeopardy.
I think Andy Reid has bought himself leeway. I don't think they should move on from him. But you need to find a way to help out Mahomes.
Yes.
I think the fact that they haven't had a run game his entire time there is malpractice. We spoke about it for years with Josh Allen when he needed help, when they could not run the football. We constantly spoke about they need to have a running game. We haven't done that with Mahomes because he's been able to overcome that and they've been able to win, but that is needed. And everything, all the pressure is on him to perform, and he usually does. But this year, it's been not having a rushing attack, the offensive line injuries, but then a defensive regression. And I'm really looking at Brett Veach as the biggest culprit in this
100%.
because he gave George Karlaftis a big-time contract, and he's an average edge rusher. He paid Nick Bolton. I like Nick Bolton. Their best linebacker is Leo Chanel pretty comfortably to me.
He's a free agent this year.
He is.
Jet.
Brian Cook's a free agent. Jalen Watson's a free agent. This offseason, I will not rule out that Trent McDuffie gets traded for picks because they're in a position right now where they need to sell their best players to start recouping on talent, and they can't put all their eggs in one basket. This past offseason,
sounds like a bill to me.
They did that with Karlaftis and Nick Bolton. They overpaid for them to keep them in-house. And because they won, they thought it was fine. But now you see yourself in a situation where the Chiefs' issues, edge rusher, Kelsey retires. They now need a tight end desperately. They don't have a receiver that can beat man-to-man coverage consistently. They need that. They also need a corner if Jalen Watson walks because he's been awesome this year. They need safety help. Like, this team has a lot of holes that has been getting masked for the last couple of years, but now it's finally caught up to them, and they have to have a major overhaul in the offseason, kind of like when they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. And no, I should say the Bucs in the Super Bowl, and they overhauled their offensive line. That's what they need in the offseason, but I think it's inexcusable to miss the playoffs in Mahomes' prime, and everybody has to get looked at, and you have to ask questions about everybody now. Yeah. You know, Andy Reid even asking questions like, okay, we have to see what he does next season to make life easier for Mahomes. We have to see if he's more innovative in the run game to take pressure off Patrick Mahomes. Maybe more under center.
I mean, just get talent, and then I think Andy Reid can do something.
Like this year, under center runs have been efficient for them. The 4th and 1 play call when they were trying to convert it, Kareem Hunt has been the most efficient short yardage back in the NFL, ironically enough. And it's a shotgun play to Hollywood Brown. You know, so those type of moments, it's about the design of it. And I just think that they haven't done enough to help Mahomes. And in spite of that, they've been able to overcome it as a team. But now it's all caught up to them. And that's why it's not surprising that they're in this position when they've neglected a lot of valuable and necessary positions.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid is very safe. I think the bigger issue is the talent because we talked about, you know, some of the design and play calling. When I look at Travis Kelce, when I look at Rashee Rice, they're winning over the middle of the field. They're winning a lot of horizontal routes. That's their MO. That's what they're doing. They're not winning vertically. And then your vertical guys, and Juju, I think, goes in that conversation too, obviously to a lesser extent. Your vertical guys are like Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy. Worthy was, I think you were banking on Worthy this season, right? Like you were banking on Worthy to be a real integral part because what you saw at the end of last year, including the Super Bowl. And then you knew Rashee Rice, once August came around, you knew that he was going to be suspended for 6 games. So you were banking on Worthy to take a step in this offense. He hasn't been able to. I think some of his limitations that put on him pre-draft are kind of coming to fruition now. The offensive line was super banged up. Pacheco goes down. You sign Kareem Hunt basically off the street. I mean, a few weeks ago, he got 30 damn carries. Was that the Cowboys game or the week before the Cowboys game? Like, there was a game where Kareem Hunt got 30 carries for you, and he's not out here averaging 6 yards a carry or anything. So I think it's a bunch of different things, right? Like, I think you had the Rashee Rice suspension. You had Xavier Worthy regress. You had the offensive line injuries. You had the Pacheco injury. You had just a lot of things not go your way this season, just from more or less a luck perspective, things that were out of your control. And you're right, defensively, they never had like this shutdown defense, but what they have had is in big moments, in big games, in big possessions, they've had either Spags dialing up a blitz, or they have a McDuffie or Snead in recent years, or Chris Jones that make a big play when they need to, and they haven't had that this season. And of course, they're not probably going to have that in the playoffs. They're not even going to have to see that. But to me, I think it's just a talent thing. I think you get Andy Reid, two more weapons. You definitely need a running back. You need a difference maker, whether it's that tight end or receiver. You get him that. You get Mahomes back. I don't think you're making any huge changes. And usually, too, with these like historical franchises, when I'm thinking of the Ravens, the Steelers, the Cowboys to an extent, it takes a lot for them to like overhaul something and make a huge move at coach or, whatever, important GM position. So I think 1 year, even though it's malpractice, it's no excuse to. I think you feel pretty comfy going with Andy Reid and Mahomes next year, and you just try to figure things out in the draft and trades and free agency.
To be fair to that, and then we can move on. Packers kind of did overhaul. Got rid of McCarthy.
Yeah.
Then Rodgers had to dial in once LaFleur came in. He did. Back-to-back MVPs. Then that didn't work out. Then there were kind of rumblings of like, Rodgers kind of wants to move on. They're like, go. Leave.
They were right.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the next era of the Chiefs with Mahomes, where Kelsey's probably gone. Chris Jones is on the back end. He's still playing really well this year. They just really don't have help around him. But his contract is backloaded and the cap hits really get disgusting. Andy Reid is 67 years old. He's getting older. Like, my question to you guys is, how many head coaches, not that are going to be available, but just head coaches in general, that if they became available and you're the Chiefs, you fire Andy Reid to go
Sean
get?
McVay.
There's two.
Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan.
That's it. That's the list. No one else.
I think about Sean Payton.
I guess.
Maybe, but
I think about it.
You're not firing. There's nobody. There's nothing. There's nothing Andy Reid can do
Ben
to be
Johnson.
moved.